Swing! Doing shoots with Smedders. So this time we're connecting our assets with our nodes and we're working back with our main character. So we've got all of our layers here. You can see what's on each layer. The order is kind of accurate. It's not exactly perfect. You can see those little arm bits are sticking out. But we're going to fix that up in a little minute. So now we're going to start rigging. So this is where we stick stuff together, basically like you've blue tacked it. So example for a hand, when you rotate a hand, you can move that with the forearm and then the upper arm. There's like that chain of command. So in Harmony, we'll do that by selecting all of our drawing layers. And then we're going to go and click on this little button up the top, which is our add a peg. So we're not connecting our drawings, we're connecting them to pegs. So it's like a little individual peg. I like to think of it like a Ziploc baggie, so your drawings are completely safe and your Ziploc bag is where you do all the controls. So that's our pegs. So hit add peg and you can see there's a new peg for every single drawing layer and it's automatically named for each drawing. So you can see it's got a P for peg, but they're all fundamentally the same. So what that means is that if we want to go and move our object, I'm just going to find my big object. So I'm going to go for the bum because it's a nice big key bit. And you can see when I select the drawing, it's pink. But if I click above it, I've got the peg, it'll be yellow. So that's how I know which is which. So yellow is for when you're going to be animating. So keep that in mind. You don't be animating on pink because that's your drawing. You could also be setting your anchor points here so you can see that it's in the center of the frame at the moment, but we'll do that after we've connected everything. So you can see all those different shapes and it's good to just double check you've got the right size layer. What we're going to do now is we're going to start connecting them. So now that we've got pegs, we're going to go up to the terrifying menu that is the node view. There she is, and terrifying. But it's going to be alright. So you can see you've got different coloured lines. They'll probably look different to mine, but they're all kind of inverted. So I've got my green bits in my blue bits. So it's not quite clear. So select everything, and then you are going to, hopefully you've already got your menu, but mine's not there. So I'm just going to go up to the little plus symbol there at the top, and I'm going to node view. That'll give me my menus, which is just the controls. So with everything selected, excuse my weird zoom, I'm using a trackpad, so I'm struggle streets. So jump up to this guy up here, either or, it's just upside down. Which direction do you want it to go? But it's going to pop everything out so we can organize things and see all of our elements. Those figures are just how much space you want between everything. So we'll hit OK. And I can see now that I've got my green guys above my blue guys. I can actually see how they're all connected. So I've got image and then we've got our peg. Image and peg, image and peg. Green is peg, blue is image. Simple as that. The little arrows will show you what the image is, so you can keep track of everything. And you can move them around. It's not actually changing how things are connected, it's just so you can see it. You may find that your view has curved lines. Mine has got the angles. That's just a setting that I've changed. So if that looks different, don't stress. It's just a default setting that I've adjusted. I like angles. It helps me see all exactly the same functionality. So this is how Toon Boom works with rigging compared to other programs. This node view is how it really does it. So it's really overzealous. It looks very dramatic, but it's very functional. So you can see all the images are connected to the composite and then into the display. So that's the final render. So you can have different groups popping out of it to try and keep it organized. You can group all sorts of different little elements, but this is where you'd also put in your effects and connect different nodes and add different little tools and stuff all in there. So this is where you make everything happen. It's not just done visually, whereas something like After Effects is. In this, it's all done with nodes. So it's more technical, but once you get used to it, it's really powerful. It does a lot. first thing we're going to do is we're going to start connecting simple things together. So the most obvious stuff. So thinking about how your body is built, we will start with the legs. So what does a leg connect to? Using the order that they've been laid out in your stack originally. So that's why you want to make sure that's organized first. Just lost a little body part. So I'll start with the arms first, actually. So we're going upper arm, forearm, hand. Hand is connected to the forearm, forearm connected to the upper arm. So clicking and dragging. So that means when I move the forearm, that will move the hand. When I move the upper arm, it moves the forearm. So if I just minimize this screen, you'll be able to see what's actually happening. You can see when I've got the upper arm selected, the whole bit is gone yellow. So if I just grab, I just gotta get to the hand, it's just that one bit selected, but the forearm is both of them. And then the upper arm is all three. So just undoing that and do it unconnected. You can see that they're all separate. So drag from the very top into the bottom of the other one. So it's like a little chain link connection. And I can move my anchor point and then I can see that's how she'll rotate. That's basically the process for all of it. So you're going to do that with as many pieces as you can. So we'll get the arms, we'll get the legs, we'll get the torso into the bum, the head into the torso, all that kind of stuff. All kind of practical order. So it can be handy to bring the key pieces up so you can actually see them while you're working with them, and then just drag them into that main piece. So torso to butt, you basically want to go towards the center of gravity. So hands into shoulder, body into butt, that kind of direction. So make sure top of the torso goes into the bum, because we want when she shifts her weight with the hips, her body goes with it. So if we did it around the other way, then her legs would pivot all funny. So we want to make sure that we're doing it in the right direction. So now when I grab the bum, I can see that the torso is connected, which is great. So then we'll just continue that process, connecting all the way down to the smallest piece, so that everything is eventually connected to the bum on this particular character. Your character may have different needs or a different center of gravity. Hopefully they're a lot simpler than this guy for your first one. So I'm just going to pull them out as I need them so I can see what I'm working with. You can group them as well. This is just a super quick way to do it. It's not the most streamlined. It's not the most powerful for long animation, but just for getting cracking, this simple system will do you wonders. And make sure you keep jumping back to your main view to see that everything's still there and everything's connected as you expect it to be. Yeah, if you've got two screens, it's always going to be much easier, obviously, than ducking in and out. But we don't all have that luxury. So if you have the option, definitely rock a second monitor for this kind of stuff. This is not the best layout, but you know, bear with us while we toddle through the rest. This is a super messy way to do it. but it totally works. Ideally, you'll be making some bigger groups and making it a bit cleaner. But yeah, like I said, quick way to jump in. This will do ya. Another key thing is when you've got elements that are front and back. So you want to make sure whichever is the easiest to grab, so usually the front, the back is connected to that. Much easier to do it that way than connect everything to the back thing that you can't grab. So just one by one, figuring out what is connected to what. What do you need to be the main parent, basically. So in this lady as well, I'm going to add an extra peg that's going to connect my hair, because I've got all these different elements of the hair that I want to all be stuck together. When I want to move the hair or animate it or deform it, I want it to do it all in one go. So I'm going to make a new peg. It's basically like putting all your little Ziploc baggies of your drawings inside a bigger Ziploc baggie, so you can grab it all at once. It's just another way to group things. So you'll right click and then you can go to insert, and I think it'll be under favorites and peg. There she is. And then I can plonk that down and connect everything into that. Drag and shove it in. And then that peg is going to then be connected to the head. So I'll have a hair peg and a head peg. So the head will be the parent, so whenever the head moves, the hair will connect to it, but the hair can also be moved as one big group. To rename stuff, it's inconvenient, but you've got to go to the layer properties, and then you can type it in. And of course that is back to another view, but you can see now that I've got a new peg hidden in here somewhere. Okay. So then I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to make a new peg for the face. So I can do a quick head turn, basically. Got a little cheaty way to do that, because you can move the face across the head and it'll look like she's turning her head slightly. It's a bit of a cheat, but it's a handy-dandy hack to know about. So I'm going to do that all again, right click, make a new peg. So this will be our face, so we want to connect the eyes, the mouth, the nose, and that's going to be connected into the face peg, and the face peg connected into the head peg. Make sure you've got both eyes, all the elements for the eyes if you have separate bits. You may have eyelids as well as a separate layer, so make sure you don't forget to stick them all together. And I think everything should be connected by now. So good to check, make sure it's all connected to the bum. Basically, grab your main asset and you can check that. Check you've got the peg, not the drawing. And you can see they're all kind of staggered. So they've popped them over to the side so I can see them in. So the children are underneath the parents, which is weird terminology, but that's what it is. So if we go back up to the very top, that's where the parent peg is. So as you parent things, the pegs will move in relation to their parenthood. So you can see if I click down through the chain of command. I can also rename it from in here just by double clicking. You can change the name if you want to, so it's not but, be a bit more professional. But psh. So once it's all connected, that's all going to work, but all of our anchor points are miles off. So next step is to go through and adjust our anchor points. Now, oddly, you'll do this with the position or rotation tool. There is no magical anchor point. It's all integrated. And make sure you're doing it on the pegs. So the yellow layers. So rotation tool is the easiest one because you can see it much clearer what's going on. And you'll drag that point and pop it on where you want to pivot, because then you can also test it on the rotate tool. So always test it, but then always undo so it resets back to the neutral position. So work your way through up the peg, chain a command. You're just going to do one joint at a time. And remember that it is from the parent joint. So don't start connecting things backwards and putting the anchor points in backwards. Always test it to make sure it works as you expect and you don't get any little poppy outy moments, so you can fix those. Then work your way through the whole body. Alright, and then we're going to stick the last one onto the center of gravity, which is the little tukas. And then there you've got your overall controller. That's it. I'm going to add one more peg. That's going to be at the base. So you want to put it where the ground is. Just makes it easier to move everything around when you've got the connection point with the earth, basically. Now, also, it depends on what your action is as to how you'll rig it. This is just a starting point, but you may find that you need to rig it differently, particularly if you're doing a walk cycle, you want to have FKs and IKs and all sorts of jazz. This is just a super simple getting you started. So it's really important that you have a plan before you start rigging. So one of my absolute favourite features of Toon Boom, compared to something like After Effects, which I would say is my native land, is that you can tab away things and you can make your layer stack far more manageable. You don't have to have it all exposed all of the flipping time, which is pretty great. And it's also highly adjustable, so you can add new elements to your rig as you're going. It's good to have a solid plan from the beginning so you don't have to, but there is flexibility in Toon Boom, so you can add in extra bits as you need without everything imploding and having to start from scratch. So really good for experimenting with things and making weird creatures like this lady. Something else you can do to keep organized is you can color your layers. So you may want all of the left leg to be one color, or the right leg to be another, maybe all the legs the same color. It's up to you, whatever system you want to use, but using the colors, you can see that it changes the whole layer across your timeline. So it makes it easier to keep track of where you're up to. So I'd highly recommend using your color layers as you're working. And hot tip, if they're tabbed and hidden, they won't color. So if you want them to color, then you'll need them open. So the theory is that I've got the lower half of the body, and then I've got the middle, and then I've got the arms, and then I'll do the head as well. So that's how I'm colouring mine. You may have a different system, and again, it all depends on what you need to animate. So that's it. That's the first part. So the next bit I'll look at some deformers and doing some more bendy bits. But that's, yeah, the very basic stuff. Connecting your hierarchy, making sure that the knee bone connects to the shin bone, all that kind of stuff, like the old song goes. But that's it. Anchor points, parenting, bish bosh, done.